What is going on, YouTubenites? Welcome to Lords of the Long Box. We got a good old-fashioned Mikey Sutton scoop and long-term spec list. It's been a while since we had some exciting news. It's so big. We have a spec list for two shows, Daredevil and 2099, Spider-Man 2099. So let's get to it right, boys and girls. First, let's kick off our intro with DJ Curse from the world-famous Beat Junkies.
Bust it. Shake and bake and pull it back.
Oh my God.
Hold on and get some, boys.
That is why they gonna be.
In the great hall of the Justice League, there are assembled the world's three greatest heroes, created from the cosmic legends of the universe. Their mission, to fight injustice, to right that which is wrong, and to serve all mankind.
What is going on, YouTubenites? This is your man T. Welcome to Lords of the Long Box. Yes, that actually is true. Where it says the three men to here to help you as the extended version there. I got my man Otto from the Grotto. Say what's up.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Otto. We got a long-term spec list. I'm digging this. I'm on the back end of this, so we're gonna have a good time with this.
My man Milton the Man. I'll say what's up, Zach.
What's going on, everyone? Like Otto said, we got a long list of characters here, and I'm gonna be honest with you. There's some pretty good dollar bin fodder here to pick up. So
It was, yo,
might be able to
man.
turn a little buck here.
Yo, I was thrown off a few times by this list because there were some characters that I had to dig like 3 layers deep to kind of make the connection. But the Daredevil ones are pretty easy. But
Oh yeah,
hopefully you guys get excited. And before I get to the long-term spec list, I'll read the scoops that these are based off of from our man Mikey Sutton. But first of all, the show is sponsored by our friends over at Rocket Comics, man. Things are starting to pick up right now. You can go get some private signings from our friend at Rocket Comics and tell them the Lord sent you. You get 20% off your first pressing order. No limit on the number of books you get pressed. They got some private signings coming up, so make sure you hit them up and message them, and they're doing some great stuff. Also, the show is brought to you by our friends at KRScomics.com. Use discount code of LOTLB to get 15% off anything in their KRS Comics store, including this beautiful book is still available. I can't believe that. That's shocking to me that this Philip Tan variant is still available. Use the discount code of LOTLB to get 15% off anything in the KRS Comics exclusive store. The show's all about to our friends at the Geeky Swag Shop. Go to thegeekyswagshop.com. Use the discount code of LOTLB to get 15% off anything in the Geeky Swag Shop. Also at our friends at Cover Price. You know, they're not really giving anything, but they're a great tool to use. Matter of fact, make sure if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. If once we hit 4,000 subs, we're going to be giving away 4 6-month subscriptions to coverprice.com for all your collecting needs. It is a great tool to have. You can pull up, pricing, rarities, all kinds of good stuff, man. I really dig what they're doing, and cool guys too, man. I interviewed them, and they're good at what they do, man.
yeah.
One guy,
Down to earth, knowledgeable, part of the community. I mean, they know what they're doing. They're not just a bunch of dudes who put together some stuff. They're comic book fans.
Yeah,
man.
they know the books, they know the titles, they look at lots of things, man. Unbelievable. Good stuff.
Yeah. So let's just kick it off like this, boys and girls.
Ladies and gentlemen, could I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen. Cannonball!
That's right, boys and girls. Let me kick this off first before I read the Daredevil long-term spec list. This is coming, the scoop based off of our friend Mikey Sutton dropped on May 4th, and then he was able to get some characters that have been reserved for the Daredevil series. Okay, so let's get right to it, boys and girls. I'm reading verbatim Mikey's scoop. In the light of darkness, a crimson spirit in the heart of Hell's Kitchens, there's for 3 seasons on Netflix, Daredevil busted through city hallways and shed blood in the gutters. It was among the MCU's most critically acclaimed and popular TV series, echoing the streetwise grit and Catholic subtext of Frank Miller's iconic take on the character. With the creation of Disney Plus and the removal of the Marvel programs on Netflix, its future had been subject to speculation and rumor. In September, amidst a flurry of public rage bait, Mikey reported that Daredevil would return to television in its adult nature intact. At that time, there was talk of it being revived on either FX or Hulu. I think on the Lords, we reported that it was probably going to be on FX. But that was all it was discussions. Mikey checked with his sources last month to see if anything had changed with the rights, if the gossip of any of them had returned or early were true. I was told that they were not, and I suspect that hasn't changed. I was given an update, though, that will excite fans who have been desiring a closer connection with this and the theatrical MCU. It was revealed to Mikey, although they legally can't work on the series at the moment. Remember, it's still, they have a 2-year window after it stopped airing on Netflix. Talks continue on what will be done. First of all, they're leaning on bringing the series to Hulu instead of FX. The rougher edge MCU characters to possibly guest on the show will be like Nick Fury, for instance. But there's another difference. While Kevin Feige liked the original series, he's not so keen on continuing what Netflix did, but instead incorporate his own vision. You know, Feige likes to put his stamp on things. However, his preference is to retain Charlie Cox, and some of the cast. No negotiations have begun yet, simply because they aren't allowed to. Legally, they can't because of the contract that Netflix had with Marvel. What we're looking at is possible reboot, one that is firmly set in the MCU. If Ryan Reynolds can play 2 different versions of Deadpool, so can Cox and Daredevil. The multiverse can explain that away if need be. There's no plans for Daredevil to join the Avengers, though. Marvel Knights maybe? Close. They talked about Daredevil joining forces with Moon Knight, the Punisher, and Ghost Rider, among others, in the Midnight Suns. It's gradually developing, so stay tuned for further updates. That's pretty exciting. So what's a little bit off here is we heard that they wanted, when it first happened, that they wanted to move all the Netflix MCU or Marvel characters onto FX, right? FX is like the perfect venue for it. We obviously realize that none of these shows can be on Disney Plus, not way too violent, but now we're hearing that they want to move them to Hulu. So Mikey was able to find out from his folks from within Marvel that, you know, this is what we call a long-term spec list. These are characters that have been reserved by the studios, and now it used to be reserved either by Jeff Loeb or Kevin Feige dividing up, but now it's all Kevin Feige. So Kevin Feige is like, look, I want you to put a reserve in these characters, and what they typically do is like the staffers will research the characters, say, hey, this is how we can use them. These are the storylines. So let's get right to it, boys and girls. I'm kind of excited for this, and I think a lot of you will too, because a lot of these characters, at least on the Daredevil side, you know them. All right, first up on the long-term spec list, Zach, I'll let you take it.
So first one up, excuse me, we got Stilt Man. So
yeah, Stilt Man
is a funny character. You know what? You know who Stilt Man's equivalent, in my opinion, in the DC universe is Kite Man. They're like the same character, where they're constantly like bashed on and made fun of.
Recently in the cartoon,
he's great at Harlequin. Yeah. He's great. He's Barry in Poison Ivy. He's fantastic.
So Stilt Man, we have a couple iterations of Stilt Man. The original one's going to be Wilbur Day, and as the name describes, his powers are, he's a guy who has large stilts that he walks on, and obviously they're armored. He has superhuman strength, telescopic legs, that kind of stuff. But he's very much a low-level villain who has plagued both Spider-Man and Daredevil. And it's actually something you're going to see as we talk about all these characters. That's the thing about Spider-Man and Daredevil, is they have the same villains because they're both street-level characters. So it's very hard to say one character's, you know, Daredevil or Spider-Man, obviously with some exceptions, but for sure, this is a character who would be kind of fun to see.
And he was teased, if I'm trying to recall, he was making like weapons or something in the Daredevil Netflix series, right? There was a version of him.
No, I think you're thinking of Gladiator, man.
Gladiator was definitely making the weapons for Daredevil, but nothing about
there was one of them, so I'm pretty sure. Gladiator. You know what? I have a feeling we may see Gladiator on the list. I'm just saying, man. So there you go, boys and girls. Stilt Man. And a lot of these characters are, you know, you do a whole season or 2 seasons, you need a lot of different villains to pop in there like a regular comic book, right? So, I mean, you know.
Here's something that's kind of interesting about characters like Stilt Man, and actually some of the other characters we're going to see going along and tied into the MCU is, if you remember back to Spider-Man Homecoming, you had the Tinkerer. And in Daredevil and Spider-Man universe, the Tinkerer is always giving out other people's characters like Stilt Man's powers and tech to other villains. So that's a good way to tie someone in, you know?
Yeah, there are some sales data on this. I mean, we didn't go really deep into it. I would suggest if you really want to go in deep, go over to coverprice.com and put in the title and look at the sales data. But I will tell you this. Last recorded sales is $59.99 for a raw copy. Graded 9.0 sales average around 214. A raw copy about $45. So I mean, this is hard to find in a high grade. It's a Silver Age book and a white cover. That's like double. That's like double indemnity. That's just the hardest ones to find. So
That's a good cover too.
Yeah, first
That
up
is a
on
great
the
cover.
list.
He's on the cover. I mean, it's a good cover. It's a good book. But the Daredevil books weren't getting a lot of love back in the day, you know, so probably why.
Well, they did the second time around. I mean, these are like, some of these are double spec books from when they, I will say this, no, regardless of Marvel, Netflix was probably very good for spec, obviously, more so than CW, right? After a while, people got tired of it, but it's still not the MCU. But, you know, now that it's part of the MCU, I think these specs will have more legs. So first up on the list is a Stilt Man. That's Daredevil number 8 from 1965. Next up, it's been reserved for the Daredevil series. Oh my God, I can finally say it. Dakota North.
Oh God,
boom!
It ain't true.
It is. Finally, this character has been talked about forever. There was supposed to be an ABC show, some other things. So finally, looks like they're going to use her in Daredevil. She is a good guy. She's a private detective and she is part of the MCU. This book has also got a Canadian variant. So I mean, this became a title right around Moonlighting was a popular TV show. If you remember Moonlighting, that was Bruce Willis's first show, and it had kind of this kind of private detective thing in this high fashion world. That's what Dakota North Investigations was, right?
In this high fashion world, you really said that. Oh my God!
I was reading the Moonlighting synopsis. I mean, that wasn't
for those of us who remember Moonlighting when Bruce Willis had hair.
She was the editor of like a Cosmopolitan magazine or something, wasn't she? Blonde chick, and then Bruce Willis was her private eye or something like that. This was before Die Hard, y'all. Go look up.
He had hair in this one, full head of hair.
Well, I don't know about a full head.
Well,
I don't think Bruce Willis has ever had a full head.
He's a little thin.
Yeah.
All right. So Dakota North, man. Finally, man. I've been talking about this book forever. There's been whispers about this character coming. That would be awesome if this character came, because people were like, who the hell is Dakota North? And you can tell them the Lord's told you, man. Next up is a character I'm pretty sure most of you have heard of, and this is an iconic cover. What's next, Zach?
We have Gladiator. So Gladiator we talked about. He actually showed up in Netflix season 1. I think he made a reappearance in season 2 or maybe season 3. He wasn't in all 3, but they had a great iteration of him. So this character Melvin Potter, originally in the comics, he's actually more of like a villain, and he's a costume designer who makes weapons and thick metal armor and obviously dresses up like a gladiator. But as we saw in the Netflix Daredevil, he's the one who ends up creating Daredevil's suit, ends up giving him the sticks that have the grappling hook connected together, and he really helps out Daredevil as he goes along. So we've seen him once before, and I really like the take on him in the Netflix series. Bringing him back, I mean, if you're not going to, you got to bring him back exactly the same, in my opinion. I don't really know what else you do with this guy. But
he had a big part in the Frank Miller Daredevil run with the death of Elektra, where they fought the Hand and those books, and he was really out of his. He starts to lose his mind. He starts to go nuts. He doesn't trust himself, but he's really a badass. He's a great character. I'm a huge fan of this character.
He's been one of those guys who goes back and forth between being like a bad guy to struggling to be a good guy and whatnot.
He's out of his mind.
Yeah. He's out of his mind.
So, I mean, if there was such thing as a rogues gallery for Daredevil, he would be part of it. Definitely. You know what I mean? There's certain characters. So, Daredevil number 18, the first appearance of Gladiator, pretty cheap, man. You can get an average graded 7.0 for 115. Raw dogs, you can get pretty much anywhere, but it's getting harder and harder to find because everybody's snatching up everything nowadays. Next up on the long-term spec list is this. Yes, Machine Smith. And that's right, boys and girls. This is Marvel 2-in-1, number 47. And this is one of those ones where you really had to research this character, because this is one of those characters that's a bad guy that's changed himself from character to character to character. And you find out the next version is either him or somebody else. So when I get these lists, I just get the character names. I don't get any context whatsoever. I don't get any storylines. I don't get which versions of them. So I try to parse the information as best we could, so we don't get ultimatum confused with ALULTIMATUM, whatever that acronym was that I said yesterday. It was a mouthful, though. But right now, 9.6, $30. But how dope is this, though? Besides, it's the first appearance of Machine Smith, who's a relatively small character. It's a Marvel 2-in-1, number 47, where the Thing and the Yancey Street Gang. Remember, ever-loving blue-eyed Glenn Grimm always refers back to Yancey Street, so you actually get to see the Yancey Street Gang on there.
God, I hate the
Gucci Gang, man. Gucci Gang, man.
Yeah, but could you imagine these street thugs? Like back in the Fantastic Four books, the Yancey Street gang, they would send like the thing like letters and notes through the mail, be like, "Hey, meet us in this street. We'll take you out. Like, we want to fight you guys." Like, I don't care what kind of gang I have. Like, I'm not messing with the thing. Like, these are not smart.
Well,
the U.S. Postal Service, for that matter.
To be fair, I mean, Superman used to foil bank robberies too. You know what I mean? It was like they were just doing like everyday street crime before. Next up on the list is Daredevil number 6. This is the first appearance of Mr. Fear. The reason why I referenced it before, Machine Smith was also a version of Mr. Fear, but this is the original Mr. Fear. But I'm just saying that I don't know which version of it's going to be, so I'm putting it out there. A lot of times we say we don't care about production notes, what's starting, what's up. We just care about the character name. And this is one of those ones where you guys are going to have to do a load of your own homework and get multiple issues if you must. You know what I'm saying? But this is the first appearance of the original Mr. Fear. Machine Smith later on became another version of Mr. Fear, so I didn't want to put all those in there just to throw a bunch of numbers at you guys. But I thought this was pretty cool because it's Daredevil number 6. And it's got some sales value on it. I mean, a graded 8.5 average is about $240. Raw dog right around $41. The last recorded sale was a 7.5 for $210. So, you know, obviously Daredevil Silver Age issues. I mean, I remember when Daredevil number 1, you can get like a 4.0 for, you know, like under a 1,500, right?
Yeah.
But then after the show came on, it's really picked up, just like pretty much all of Marvel comics. But you know, it just goes to show how collecting has been. All right, next up is another Daredevil foe that is pretty well known, and I think we talked about it before that it was on long-term spec list, but regardless, he's back. What is it, Otto?
We're talking about the Paladin. We ready to go?
No, I'm doing in sequential order, so it's the Owl.
The Owl. There we go. Okay, good. I don't know if we talked about the Owl before, but it's all right. So the Owl was a great character. Came out in Daredevil.
Are you looking at the screen in YouTube or the screen in StreamYard?
I'm looking at both, but I got it. Okay.
Look in StreamYard because it goes immediately. There's no lag.
Gotcha. You're right. All right. So Daredevil number 3, first appearance of the Owl. At this point, he's just your classic gangster. Okay. He's your gangster. He wants to go after Daredevil. We see Daredevil in a classic suit. Number 3 in the Daredevil series. So they wanted to give him a mainstream or a villain to go up against. And Owl stays around for a long time. He becomes a Spider-Man villain. As he starts to grow the character himself, he wants to become more like an owl. So he takes his serum and his physical features start to change and he just grows and grows. So although Owl is like your B-lister to Doc Ock, the Owl is he's a very sinister villain. And what's really neat for you guys that haven't read this, but Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man, number 73 to 76 was some of the most violent books in that series, where the Owl, Doc Ock, the Black Cat, and Peter Parker all go at it. And it was very violent, very aggressive at the time. But here, you know, you would go back to this book, Daredevil number 3, you know, you can get a graded 8.0 for $321. Raw copies are around $112. And look right on the cover. He's on the cover. It tells you who it is. And it's just a great book. And I just think it's underrated. But I'd love to see what they do with him because like a Kingpin, like a Doc Ock, he's just a great villain, I think, that they could do stuff with. I don't know what you guys think about it.
He was in Daredevil season 1. He played Leland Owsley was in there. He never really turned into the Owl, but he was kind of the Kingpin's financial advisor, so to speak, as he is with, you know, kind of in this comic or in his original origin. Yeah. So he was in there, but he didn't become the Owl, you know.
Yeah, and I think Feige was frustrated on what Netflix did. It went right up to the line where they wanted to be like comic books, but then they didn't, you know what I mean? Where now Feige be like, look, I'm going to give these guys full on costumes and they're going to be the villainous, you know, courts in it. Because the Netflix stuff, they tried to remain grounded, you know, as opposed to Iron Fist. Well, even the only thing I was disappointed with the Netflix Daredevil series is we didn't really get to see the sonar like we did in the Ben Affleck version. The Ben Affleck version, hate it or love it or like it, whatever. What they did showing the Daredevil sonar was spot on, I thought.
Right from the comic book.
They did that fantastically. Whereas on the show, they were like keeping it grounded, so he just kind of perked up his ears and shit. Or it was
I'll tell you what, the owl in the current Daredevil run by Chip Zdarsky, the owl is a bad mother in that.
Okay.
He's going up against trying to become the new Kingpin. He's basically the crime boss there too, and he's awesome, man.
Right. Is he starting to mutate? Did he start changing his body?
Yeah, and
like
he looks more like the owl. He's got the wings and claws and stuff. So
cool.
All right, next up on the list is something we've had on our long-term spec list for a long term now, so we know they've been using it. Hopefully you guys all got it, and it's anniversary issue. What is it, Otto?
That's the Paladin, Daredevil 150. We've talked about him before. The crime fighter / mercenary / rogue. Fun book, Daredevil 150. Jim Shooter, Carmen Infantino did the work, and he's a mercenary private investigator. Like I said, he battles Daredevil. He works with Daredevil. He goes after the Purple Man. He's he had a little love affair, a little affectionary thing with Wasp at one point. So he kind of gets around. He's definitely a womanizer, and we've talked about him for quite some time. And I think he would be a very easy character to translate onto any type of medium, TV show, live action, or anything you want, because really he's a good hand-to-hand skill combatant. He's the marksman, guns, the stun gun, the body armor, that kind of stuff. So very easy, I think, to translate.
Yeah, in the modern times, he's more of an anti-hero than he is really. He's kind of chaotic neutral.
Yeah, right.
He would provide a great foil to Daredevil, because Daredevil is very much, law and order, justice.
Yep.
And the Paladin's a mercenary. And so he comes out there, and he's not as drastic of a foil as Punisher can be to Daredevil. And he's more like a guy he could work with. But Paladin's a great character, man.
Yeah, he's been around a lot in the modern comics. I mean, in 9.8, 300 bones, man. So, it's a great book. It's an anniversary issue. Last recorded sales book was 17 bones. Raw dogs typically around 12.50. Anytime I see this book, I grab it because it's a Bronze Age. It's a anniversary issue. It's a first appearance. I mean, it's got
a lot of guys worked on it.
If you can get anniversary issue, boom, get it. And it's a first appearance. All right. Next up is a rather goofy character, and really only one person can introduce him, Otto. Who do we got for the Daredevil long-term spec list?
Yeah, we've got Spot, okay?
The
Spot, right? Not the Spot, but the Spot. So the Spot, I tried to find some information on him. And he, as you can see, the Kingpin's on the cover. He worked for the Kingpin. He was a scientist, and Kingpin quested him with this task to create these like portals or something, and obviously it went wrong, and so now he's just this character who create portals through his body and end up in different places. And other than that, I don't really know too much about him.
It's a great ability to have when you're robbing banks. That's what I mean. He's a thief, right? I mean, the reason I remember the Spot, I believe in Peter Parker's Spectacular Spider-Man number 100. And did you tell him the issue, Otto? Just for the people who are listening on the podcast and on
no, absolutely not. So you're looking at Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man number 98.
So issue 100 is the famous issue, I believe, where it's a bunch of spots and you see him like punching Spider-Man from different, like he'll put in his fist in one spot and it'll pop up in another one. So from a fighting perspective, it's got to be kind of tough, but he is rather goofy and is right up there. So typically
because he's probably one of the more powered villains that Daredevil ever fights. Daredevil also fights very grounded characters. Not a lot of guys have powers, you know what I mean? So that's interesting.
The same with Batman. Like if you think about all of his rogues are more like of mental fuckers as they are physical fuckers. Can I say that? Well, I just did. But anyway, Peter Parker, Spectacular Spider-Man number 98, the longest name for a comic book ever. And after a while, they just call it the Spectacular Spider-Man. Fun fact: I had a Peter Parker, Spectacular Spider-Man 100, I think. And the first time I met Ken Lashley, he was closing up the shop and he had some prints, and I was like, hey, I want to buy these prints from you. Wait for me. I'll be right back. He was okay, no problem. So I went off and I spent all my cash on buying other comics. And I came back and I said, man, I'm so sorry about that, Ken. He goes, no worries, man. He goes, you know what? Take them. He gave me 4 prints and just said, take them. Sign them off. And so in return, I said, you know what? Let me give you something in return. So I gave him a Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man number 100 near mint. And I've been friends ever since. That happened 4 years ago, man. So he still remembers it to this very day. That's why Ken Lashley's a cool dude, man. All right, next up on the list is another one for our man Otto. What is it?
We got Ox right here from the Enforcers. This is straight up
look at
Ditko.
probably the most expensive book on the list here.
It really is. And this is classic right here. This is classic Ditko, classic Stan Lee. First appearance was Amazing Spider-Man number 10. One of my favorite covers ever. I just want to throw that out there. And Ox, there's two iterations of Ox. There's one of the Ox was, his real name was Raymond Blotch, and then his brother was Ronald Blotch, and they were both huge guys. They were 6'8", 385 pounds, just all muscle, and they were the strongmen, right? Raymond Blotch actually dies at one point, and then Ronald Blotch comes in and becomes the next Ox in the character, and just your strongman for your group. And they've been around, and I think this would be another character that would absolutely translate well onto any type of medium that you want to do it. So Ox, and you'll see him in a lot of covers. There's a great Daredevil cover where Daredevil's beaten down, Ox is standing right over him. So lots of cover time for Ox. Just a cool character. I was just going to say, when you're looking at it, 7.0s or $448, or raw books are around $350. 9.2s are almost $1,900. I mean, this is a top 10 Spider-Man book.
Well, the last recorded sales is a 9.2, and I think that's pretty cheap for a fucking Spider-Man book in the top 10.
Top 10 Spideys. Jeez,
right, absolutely.
Because Spider-Man like 1 through 50 is full of first appearances of villains,
loaded.
Spider-Man's rogues, and
every issue.
Yeah. I mean, it's great hunting ground if you ever had that run or bought that collection. All right, next up, boys and girls, is the list for Spider-Man 2099. Mikey Sutton reported that Sony and Disney are talking about developing a live-action Spider-Man 2099 show for Disney Plus. Now, all the Daredevil we just said, Mikey was hearing that it was going to be on Hulu. They talked about FX. So either way, it's going to be streaming on one medium or the other. So this one is interesting because Spider-Man 2009 obviously is Sony owns the rights to it, but to put it on streaming, they would need to work with Marvel. We're hearing that Marvel and Sony are talking about it, and they would like it to happen. This way, Sony gets a Spider-Man adjacent property into the MCU without actually using Spider-Man, right? I mean, this is not Peter Parker. This is Spider-Man 2099. We're talking in the future. So this also brings in, things in the future, possibly time travel things. So this is a very, very interesting spec list because there are some like characters where I was couldn't find, to be honest with you. So
yeah, right.
Because I always give it a name. So first up on the list is Justice. First appearance, Justice Volume 2, number 1. And this is the new universe version because this one has some time travel in it. There's also the Vance Astrovic version of Justice, which is more grounded into 616. So if I think about it, it's like, I don't know if they could really use that. But if you notice, a lot of these are Spider-Man centric, but this Justice character is neither. All right. It's part of the new universe. It's not part of Spider-Man, but it's a Marvel property. Even if you look at Vance Astrovic, that's a Marvel property too. So if they wanted to use this character, it would have to be Marvel allowing them, right? I mean, because
Vance Astrovic's also a mutant, so I highly doubt Sony's going to be allowed to use a mutant.
Yeah. So this is one of those things where Marvel's like, you want it? Yeah, we can do that. I mean, this is a new universe character, right? I mean, these are some really kind of things. So this actually appears on here twice. It's the first appearance. Justice and Net Profit are both on here. Justice is a good guy. Net Profit, I believe, is a villain, if I'm not mistaken. But I didn't want to do two different graphics. So just get, for one, just know that Justice and Net Profit are both on the long-term spec list. So this is a double spec book if you ever find it, right? So that's why I was like, when I was going through it, it's got to be this Justice because Net Profit was also on the list, and they both appeared on Justice Volume 2, issue number 1. So there you go. That's how I connect the dots. I get this name, and I was like, well, Justice really doesn't make sense. And I looked down and I said, what? Net Profit is on there also, and they both made their debut in this comic. So there you go. That's how we put two and two together to make 7, boys and girls.
Right. And this the new universe stuff you can find in dollar boxes all the time, not even bagged and board. So I'm sure you can find this. This was a bad time for Marvel.
And next up on the list is a book you all been waiting for, and this book will appear multiple times in this. This is Spider-Man 2099 from 1993. Everybody has a copy now. There was an IG sale, I think Flip Mode Comics, where they bought a collection that had 150 copies of this. So this book is very easy to find, and probably in a 9A because this is the hard cardstock cover. This is the first appearance of Lila. Lila is on a long-term spec list. Lila is short for Lyrate Life Form Approximation. It's basically an AI in the shape of a really, really attractive woman. So let me go back to Justice. There is no sales date on it, by the way. Last raw copy sold for $2. Boom. Get it. New Justice, some really interesting stories because I have the Star brand and the other one that was started, and they eventually brought them all into the 616. But I believe Jim Shooter is the one that created the new universe back then for Marvel. But this book is starting to pick up a little bit now. Graded sales data averaging now $62.51 for a 9.8. Raw sales are still pretty cheap. This has been on our cover price top 10 the last few weeks. I mean, it's littered with Spider-Man books, but this started way back when Into the Spider-Verse, that animated cart movie came out, because there was a slight tease at the end of it and people started snatching up thinking that was going to be the next thing. Well, now you know what the next thing is. It wasn't going to be an animated movie. They want to make a live action series and it would be badass. Put it on Disney Plus because why? They have the budgets for it, right? If Sony were to put it anywhere else, they're probably like, I don't know. And Disney Plus is probably the biggest platform that they could have before, now. Here, let me preface it by saying this. Whatever the rumors are about Disney buying Sony or Sony selling just the Sony Columbia Pictures part of it in the near future, it may or may not happen, but we're hearing there's been whispers about it eventually. With the stuff with COVID-19, obviously it caused everything to halt because everybody's shares dropped. So you really can't get a correct monetization of what the company's worth when the stock is dropped, like, valued 30-40% less. It's not accurate. They have to wait, let things get back to normal, and then you can buy something by offering them stock and cash, right? You don't just offer them cash all outright. Just when they bought Fox, they was like, hey, we'll give you this, we'll give you that. So remember when Fox got bought by Disney, they still operated as though they were still a separate entity, right? They were still making movies. And then that's how we end up with Dark Phoenix and New Mutants. If Sony was ever to get bought by, and it would be Sony Columbia Pictures, not the entire Sony Electronics. If Disney were to ever buy Sony Pictures, Sony still has to operate like they're doing regular business, or else it'll hurt their stock price, right? If they just give up and stop doing stuff. So that's why you see things like Silver Sable, also obviously Venom, Spider-Man 3, everything is still being made. So this is something that they're in discussions for. They really want to move Spider-Man 2099 and work with Disney to get this over onto Disney Plus. Not saying in the future maybe Disney just buys them outright, or their partnership is much better now. I think when we found out about the Tom Holland stuff it seems so long ago. When was it? Last summer?
Yeah.
It was last
summer.
It was after San Diego Comic-Con.
Yeah.
I mean, I think not so much Marvel. I think Sony really learned the hard way that, we just pissed off an entire fan base. So, all right. Next up on the list is a very interesting character. You have to bear with me here because this is really, I'm going to tell you the story. So I got the list. Thanatos was on the list. Thanatos is like a Greek god of death. And I got this list and I said, this really doesn't make sense at all for a Spider-Man 2099 story. So the first appearance of Thanatos is in Incredible Hercules number 138. End up being, go look up Spider-Man 2099 issue 12 from 1993. There is a direct storyline that involves the Greek gods. Basically, Thanatos possesses somebody in the Spider-Man 2099 universe, and he brings in other Greek gods, which is, I had no idea, because when I looked at these, I go, this makes no sense. Why are we having these Greek gods? Well, apparently they traveled in time, and who else traveled with them? This character, Submariner number 35, the first appearance of Proteus. Proteus is a minor Greek god that is also on the long-term spec list. So when I saw Proteus and Thanatos, I go, something has to happen here. So I started searching Spider-Man 2099 books. In 1993, Spider-Man 2099, issue number 11, they start a 3-issue story arc to issue number 13. And it talks about how there are Greek gods, there's versions of hell, and they go into Spider-Man 2099. It's a really very specific storyline. And then when I see it on this long-term spec list, somebody knows something about storylines that they want to use. Or why would Greek gods be in any Spider-Man 2099 book? But either way, it's good for us because we get to see characters like this. Proteus first appeared in Submariner number 35, and it's not that Proteus, not the one from the X-Men. This is different versions. This is the Greek god Proteus in the Marvel 616, a graded comic last sold for $230. That's a 9.4. 189 was last sold. It averages about $230 on coverprice.com. Raw issue about $55. So great issue right there. I mean, you got the Avengers on it, you got the Hulk, Silver Surfer. I mean, this is a weird one, but it's on the list. So a lot of times when Mikey gets this list, he gets it from somebody who's getting it, but they don't have any context for it. So we have to get in and we have to search for and figure out what it is. And sure enough, there is a goofy storyline that involves the Greek gods, and go look at it. I mean, I'm not saying that book will get hot, but I'm just saying if it is involved, then go look at Spider-Man 2009 issue number 11, 12, and 13. The Greek gods are featured within there, and it's from the volume 1 from 1993. Oh boy.
Oh, Tim, let me take a break right now. I want to give a couple shout outs to everybody in the live chat. We got Dave in the Cave, Thunderhouse Design, Spec Collector. I think we saw Rags in there.
You're not gonna have enough time. There's 163 people.
I know,
watching,
but I do want to give a shout out to our boy Skip Venezuela, Mike. He just hit me up. He's watching us back on the West Coast. He's watching the show. I want to shout out. I know he's celebrating a birthday, so shout out to Mike for watching us tonight. Awesome.
Yeah, make sure you guys sub up. 166 of you watching. This is a long list to go through, but we're almost done. So next up on the list is this is the issue I was talking about. So since we're talking about that, this is Spider-Man 2009 issue number 11 when Thanatos first appeared. This is the first appearance of him possessing that character, Aaron Delgado, in Spider-Man 2099. Okay, so this is his first ever appearance, and this is his first appearance possessing the body of Aaron Delgado. Just so you know, I'm not crazy. It's called State of Siege, and then issue 12 actually has Thanatos on the cover. If you can see him, he's kind of got like that Ares look to him. You see him in the background there behind the blonde chick. That's him. That almost looks like Kang too, around the right, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Like Kang. So, I mean, obviously with Spider-Man 2099, it's in the future, but there's time traveling involved because that's how characters pretty much get to it. So, yeah, man, it's I got to go read that to see how. Also on the list, and I just didn't have a graphic for it, is Alchemex, which is throughout the entire, basically, it's like, what is it, Zach? Is it like the Roxxon of the Spider-Man 2009?
Pretty much, it's like Roxxon, Oscorp. It's like the big organization that runs 2099 universe. They're bad, and that's who Miguel O'Hara is constantly going up against. They're kind of like polluting the world, and just they're bad guys. So
yeah, so they're like the big bad evil corporation.
99 1.
Yeah, so actually, on specifically what we have on the long-term spec list is the Alchemex School for Gifted Youngsters. So take that for what it is, but the Alchemex and the School, they all appear first in Spider-Man 2009 number 1. That Spider-Man 2009 number 1 has a ton of first appearances, obviously, because, it's the first 2099 series ever, I do believe, right? There wasn't anything before that, was there? I'm trying to think.
It's the beginning, yeah.
Yeah, at the beginning. And if you've been reading comics right before the shutdown of comic and everything, there was a lot of 2099 books coming out, right? I'm pretty sure you read them, didn't you, Zach?
No, but Spider-Man 2099 had his own title again, and I think Ravage was coming back. There was a couple that are spotting up. So, I mean, where there's smoke, there's fire. You know what I mean? So it makes sense.
Marvel doesn't do comics for no reason at all, right? Especially now, for those who know that basically Marvel Comics reports to Kevin Feige. Everything entertainment-wise under the Marvel umbrella reports to Kevin Feige. Not saying he's joke aside, runs the day-to-day, but for any decisions, it still comes. Kevin Feige is still the man. He is the one above all. You know what I mean? All right, next up is a fun book, and this is Zach gets to do this one because I actually love this cover, but it's pretty dope, man.
So this character we got is Morlan. So Morlan's an interesting character, and it's interesting in context with 2099 and our Spider-Man. So Morlan obviously is more well known for his 616 appearance, and he's a bad guy who has gone around through universe to universe, and he kills people that he calls the spider totems. So individuals with spider type powers, he kills them, absorbs them, and becomes stronger, almost like a Highlander type situation. So he shows up, goes against Peter Parker for a very long time, but where he crosses over and interacts with the 2099 universe is he obviously goes and hunts down a couple different versions of Miguel O'Hara as well. So you could see him jump over. This character, maybe this might be like wishful thinking, but this is a guy you could see show up in 2099, also show up in Tom Holland, and it could be a villain who jumps from platform to platform because that's who he is as a character. So
for those who haven't read Spider-Man comics in a long time, they really taken this kind of web of that kind of binds
almost like a Spider-Man multiverse.
Exactly. Yeah. It's literally an interweb, an internet of spiderness. And the spider totems are kind of people. There's what is a Dreamweaver is like the main spider who kind of controls them all. And I was just reading
Master Weaver.
Yeah, and then you got Madam Web and all these kind of interesting, weird side characters. They really built on the mythology of Spider-Men's or Spider-Verses. And it used to be just, I'm Peter Parker, I'm slinging webs. Now there's like a web that really, that they kind of did with Venom, where they kind of made it all over the universe. Well, apparently there's webs that tie, and I was just reading it, the Spider-Verse that came out, I want to say a few months ago. It's been so long now, but where it literally is like the Spider-Verse into the Spider-Verse, where they really didn't talk about it, but each multiverse has its own version of a Spider-Man that kind of protects the web, and there's a Dreamweaver. It's really, I mean, Straczynski is the one that wrote this, and that's a J. Scott Campbell cover, by the way. J. Scott Campbell did, I want to say like 10 or 11 covers on this Amazing Spider-Man run, and Straczynski is a really, really heady writer, so he really took it into really kind of crazy stuff, and then the more recent stuff. So obviously, you know, they tried to build on the mythos of Spider-Man because he's such an important character, and not, you know, in the Marvel comics, and you can see in the movies. I mean, that's probably why there's 160 of you watching, because the Spider-Man 2099 scoop that Mikey dropped blew up. Movie Web quoted him. It just go, and I tell Mikey, I said, look, Mike, anytime you get Spider-Man news, it's gonna pop. That's how popular Spider-Man is. Speaking of popular characters, who's next?
Great segue, by the way.
I know, right? There you go, man.
Look at this character. Wait till you hear about this guy.
Let me go back to this one, guys. Amazing Spider-Man Volume 2, number 30 is the first appearance of Morlan. It's you can remember it because it's a beautiful J. Scott Campbell cover on it, but just remember it's Volume 2, number 30. But next up on the list is somebody that Zach's going to explain to you. This is Blitzgeist.
30 seconds.
Next up, we've got a character named Blitzgeist, which, you know, is a pretty badass name. And I don't have a lot to say about this guy, except he's a serial killer of the cyberspace that was killed in his first appearance. So his first appearance is also his last appearance.
Right. What a great character, right? What a great character.
Talk about a spec book there. But, you know, this guy, you need some cannon fodder if you're going to do this 2099. And obviously, they don't have to follow storylines. Blitzgeist could be a reoccurring villain and someone who actually kind of messes with them, you know. But cool looking character. I know you can't see him on the cover here, but Google image him. Kind of looks like he could be a member of KISS.
Yeah, it kind of looks like Lobo, though, don't you think?
Yeah,
though,
like
guys?
there's a Lobo feel to him as well.
Yeah, because he's a crazy serial killer from the future, so they had to make him have this crazy look. But this is a one shot, by the way. Spider-Man 2099. It's just called the Spider-Man 2009 special. It came out in 1995, so it's just one of those. It's a one shot. And next up is actually the first variants that we have on the list, believe it or not, and this is the last one for the long-term spec list for Spider-Man 2099. And Zach, what is it?
So this one we have, I mean, Dr. Chronos is his name, but he kind of goes a little bit more by Alexia Chronos. So this guy is another minor character. He has a lot of, if you remember from the 2099 universe, another big character, one of the longer runs in the 2099 was Doom 2099. So Alexi Chronos also dealt a lot with Victor Von Doom. He dealt with robotics, interacted with Spider-Man, and was killed pretty early as well. But this is another character that you might see, you know, kind of have a supporting role, like someone who is behind the scenes creating villains and, you know, causing chaos for the bigger villains. You know what I mean? So, you know, I don't know what to say about this.
They don't make cool names like they used to anymore, huh? Dr. Chronos.
You know, when you say Dr. Chronos, you know, my initial theory, I'm like, oh, this guy's time travel.
Travel.
Exactly. Yeah. We're too spoiled with like the other Chronos, the Kang versions. I forgot what his name was.
So, yeah, you know, another little spec, fun little spec in the 2099 universe there. What is it? It's Spider-Man volume. So Spider-Man 2099 volume 3, actually, number 2. So this guy shows up in the more modern era of Spider-Man 2099. So he wasn't part of the original time.
Yeah, and see this main cover, which is bad. I actually like the regular cover more than I like the two variants to the left of it. That first cover, that's badass right there. Kind of look like the anatomy of Spider-Man, but there are two variants, and that's actually a monster homage variant, the kind of cool cover there, and the other one over there. But guess I was just given a message, boys and girls. You know what that means? Oh, breaking news! Breaking news!
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen. Cannonball!
All right, boys and girls. This is the bonus features for you. I forgot to mention it, but you know what? I keep you guys watching to the very end. I got some scoops right now. This is getting to my man Mikey Sutton earlier today. Here it is, boys and girls. Iron Fist is being hard rebooted for Disney Plus. Sans Finn Jones. That's right, boys and girls. They are hard booting Iron Fist for Disney Plus. They're going to recast the actor. It's going to be inspired by the Ed Brubaker run and Claremont and Byrne. If you don't remember, Claremont and Byrne did like early issues of Iron Fist, the Bronze Age. I ran to issue number 15. We're getting more deets soon, but that's what I have right now. It'll be a big budget on Disney Plus. Iron Fist will be full costume, and a spec that we did I want to say last year is Shang-Chi will make an appearance on that season of Iron Fist. So there you go. The spec on that book is King Size Annual #1 Master Kung Fu is the first time Iron Fist and Shang-Chi meet in the comic book. So we're finally getting word that they're rebooting Iron Fist, and so long, Finn Jones.
Tim, I think you got Finn Jones fired. I think he's going to be coming after you. I mean, your hatred for him. So I think,
I'm pretty sure I can kick his ass, bro. I may be twice his age, but I'm positive I can kick his ass. You know what I'm saying? I'll sweep the leg. I'll headbutt him. I'll do whatever. I'll bite his fucking ankles. I don't give a fuck. I'll kick bottles. I'm crazy, gang. So there it goes, boys and girls. So that book, man, I've been telling you guys about that book. It's only a matter of time that Shang-Chi and Iron Fist are going to meet up together. And that Master of Kung Fu King Size Annual #1 is the first time they've ever met in the comics. I've been buying them up. They're cheap books to get, but they are square bound, so they're a little bit difficult to find. So be careful with that. Get more details on that soon. Also, I want to give you guys an update on some stuff that's been happening that we reported on over some time. It's been reported today that Agents of S.W.O.R.D. Disney Plus show that we initially scooped back in September 2019. The final title will either be S.W.O.R.D. Secret Invasion or simply Secret Invasion. There you go. So we've been talking about an Agents of S.W.O.R.D. show after Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was ended. So Disney Plus is going to take it over. They're developing. The final title will either be S.W.O.R.D. Secret Invasion or simply Secret Invasion. And if you know, that ties in directly what happened with the end of Captain Marvel, right? Where you got to see the Skrulls and spaceships. So there you go.
And Spider-Man Far From Home.
Yeah. Also, Captain Marvel 2, we scooped back in September, that Captain Marvel 2 will also be about Secret Invasion and Varenki as the main foe. Remember, we spec Varenki was, I think she's like a Skrull princess or something along those lines.
Skrull princess.
Yeah, so get up that one. And another one, we literally just stopped this, I want to say a month ago, that on a long-term spec list for War Machine, that we had Riri Williams on that long-term spec list. Today, there's reports that Ironheart is going to be coming into the MCU. Ironheart in the MCU was initially scooped by the Black Knight with assistance from Mikey on the show back in July 2019. We had another version that they wanted to use her as their introduction. And on the long-term spec list for War Machine, it was very specific. It said Riri Williams. It didn't say Ironheart. So that's when you have to kind of read in between the lines of saying they'll probably introduce Riri Williams in War Machine, and eventually she will become Ironheart and get her own series because it's a character that a lot of the young kids like to follow. It gives another version of Iron Man. So there you go, boys and girls. Man, that was a lot. And you know what? I think the floodgates are finally opening and things are going to be coming at you fast and furious now, because the restrictions are starting to loosen up. A lot more companies are kind of getting back. California is getting back. The governor said Friday we can start opening up business again. So I'm pretty sure a lot of this information they've been working on in the background. So we're finally getting some scoopage for you guys. May 23rd, I'm going to have a huge Mikey Sutton scoop, and it has to do with the MCU. It's probably about 4 parts to it of different characters. And it's going to have some long-term spec lists on it. So we got a lot of exciting stuff. I'm glad you guys stuck with us through the shutdown, through YouTube, not notifying people. We lost viewership. And then, thank God our friends at Cover Price, we made that relationship with them. So we're able to give you weekly content, even though we didn't have scoops, because we still are comic book collectors and we like to talk about comic books. So there it is, boys and girls. That's it, man. That's Iron Man. Oh, so we got a Daredevil long-term spec list. We got a Spider-Man 2009 spec list. Ironheart is coming to the MCU. We spec that. Captain Marvel 2 will feature Varanki as the main villain, and an Agents of Sword show is coming on. I've been pushing this for a long time, and I asked Mikey, is Quake going to be part of that team? And he says, yes, they want Quake to be part of the Agents of Sword team, because really you can't have Agents of Sword. I mean, Quake is probably arguably the most popular character on the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So I think having her continue on, and plus she's beautiful.
Great to look at, right? My God.
Pick up those astonishing.
Why you gotta make it so sexual all the time, Otto?
Well, you know what? You gotta have some eye candy once in a while. You just can't have us on the screen,
Oh, that's what Otto's for. Otto's here for the eye candy. So
yeah, right.
we just got to work on the lighting so he doesn't blind everyone. We got to give it a disclaimer that if you get one of those people who like flashy things and they get like what I'm talking about, man.
That's right. Yeah, you like whatever. It's fine.
So Quake first appearance, yes, it is. Thunderhouse Designs is, and thank you all for joining us, man. 160 of you in the live chat. So I hope you guys are. So, I just want to give a shout out to somebody who sent me a random act of kindness, and I just want to give him a shout out. Look at this, man. Near mid copy, Dazzler #1. They sent me a Batman vs. Spawn. And they sent me this. It's a really cool ash can that was supposed to come out at ECC, but it got canceled. So this is going to be very hard to find. Shout out to my man. Make sure you sub them up. They're a great channel. They're just starting out, man. But it's Dave Cave, I want to say. I'm sorry, man. I had it right here, and I should have. Gabe's Cave. I'm sorry, because I kept on thinking Dave in the Cave. Shout out to Dave in the Cave too, the 4th member of. So I'll put their YouTube channel in the live chat. So make sure you sub them up. They have great content. Cool guys over there. Brandon was the one that sent this really cool thing, and there's some note in there that I don't know if I can tell you guys about it, because it said for your eyes only. So I'm pretty sure there's some they got some stuff they got planned out coming in comics in the future. But let me. Here, I will drop their channel. Sub these guys up. They're great guys. Gabe's Cave. They talk about all things geeky, Star Wars, comics, all that good stuff. So make sure you check them out, man. I really appreciate it. All right, that's it, boys and girls. So that's a lot to pack. You can always watch on a replay, though. But so have fun hunting down those books. A lot of them are cheap, and that's what's fun about these long-term spec lists. You just have something to go digging for, especially now with some comic book shops opening again. Hopefully, we'll get into it. Any truth to Eddie Gomes? Well, I got some time to answer some questions for you since we'll go the full hour. Eddie Gomes asked this, and I'll try to answer as well as I can. Any truth to Michael Bay directing the Inhumans? Only really one side I heard reporting that, so I wouldn't believe it yet. Would Kevin Feige give Michael Bay the Inhumans? I mean, put it this way. After what the Inhumans went through with their ABC debacle, man, you would have to get Steven Spielberg to reboot this.
Right.
You know what I
mean?
mean?
They got so many other things that they can go with and try to rebring this.
Yeah, I mean, they want to redo it. But, I mean, they want to redo it, but I don't know how well they will. I mean, I know Black Bolt is being discussed as being part of the Illuminati. I would think Black Bolt will be brought in before. Here's what Marvel likes to do. They like to put the stink of bad properties away for a long time before they redo it, right? I mean, to a point, DC too. That's why you haven't seen a Green Lantern movie, because they want people to forget. That's why you haven't. Well, I mean, we'll see how long it takes to get a Fantastic Four movie, right?
Right.
We'll see how long it takes to get another Death of Phoenix movie, which is one of the best.
I would not see another Death of Phoenix movie.
I would like to see the entire arc of how she becomes Phoenix, then Dark Phoenix, as opposed to what it was. we got the end of one movie. She exhibits the Phoenix powers, and then she just goes full on Dark Phoenix in the next movie. I mean, I would like to see.
Well, there's so many better stories to tell, or not better, but other ones. Like we can't just keep redoing the same X-Men stories.
When will Ken Lashley be on? I don't know about this week. Maybe next week, and he'll do that sketch. I mean, he's busy. We're busy. To be honest with you, tomorrow we're going to do an auction. I keep on forgetting that. We were supposed to do it today, but I had these huge scoops. So I know Ryan and I think Prime, we got some books. So we'll do a quick auction. And I just got this as auction fodder. So
fodder. There you go.
This will be up for auction on tomorrow. This is Risen number 3, the first appearance of Punchline. So stay tuned for that, boys and girls. I'm going to auction that off. We're going to start off at $1. Go! No, just kidding. All right, boys and girls. I appreciate you all for joining us. Any last words, Otto?
Yeah, thanks for joining us tonight. We've got a 3 Men in a Basement show planned for you this Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. We got Dave in the Cave, Roger Levesque, Nemesis Prime. We got some nice comic book hauls. I got some good stuff to show. I reached out. I got another mystery box. I found a great site was referred to me called Boxed Heroes. So I've got a mystery box from them I'm going to open up, and we'll see how that goes. So should be a good show. So please join us. We're going to get the reminder out there. So 3 Men in the Basement live this Friday night, 8 p.m. Thank you very much for watching us tonight on Lords of the Longbox. We had a great time.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, Abigail Brand and that. What's that X-Men book? That's the first appearance of Sword, man.
X-Men 3.
Because I remember the cover, it's Colossus, and he's holding like Kitty Pryde, right? Yeah. That
so Astonishing X-Men 3 is her first appearance, and I think that's when she shows up, or where Sword shows up as well. Yeah. Volume. No. Astonishing X-Men number 6 is first appearance of Sword. Abigail Brand is issue 3.
Yeah, that's the chick with the green. Yeah, Whedon's run on Astonishing X-Men.
Beast for a long time.
Yeah. Any last words? Are you going to be in the auction tomorrow, Zach?
No, I don't think so.
You already got rid of all your bullets. Oh, yeah, I only got like 2 or 3 lots that were left over from last time. So we're just going to go on tomorrow. We'll probably do it a little bit early, or 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. and just go a couple hours, as it's not like you got anything to do, right?
No.
You ain't got shit to do. You just need to get, what they say. All right, boys and girls. We appreciate you for hanging out. We will see you tomorrow for the Lords of the Long Box auction. We'll probably do a little bit early so it doesn't run too late, as long as Nemesis Prime and Darkside Jedi are available. So we'll look at 5 p.m. Pacific tomorrow. We'll just run like a quick 2-hour auction. And then Saturday, boys and girls, is another version of the Comics, Twos, and Toys claim sale. They've been wildly popular. So Saturday at 2 p.m. Pacific, I'm going to be live from Comics, Tunes, and Toys, and we're going to do another claim sale. If you looked on my Instagram, there's going to be some dope books. We're talking early Claremont and Claremont books.
I'm very
95
jealous.
Up to like 99. So that's the meat and potatoes right there, boys and girls. So you got a lot to peep out. Tomorrow, 5 p.m. for the Lords of the Long Box quick 2-hour auction. And Saturday, we're going to do a live claim sale at Comics, Tunes, and Toys, and that'll be at 2 p.m. Pacific live here on YouTube. So as always, boys and girls, keep digging in them long boxes. Peace out.
Bust it. Shake and bake and pull it back.
Oh my God.
There are assembled the world's 3 greatest heroes, created from the cosmic legends of the universe. Their mission, to fight injustice, to right that which is wrong, and to serve